Heat index is 120 today. And it's weird to think that we need to go ahead and get our minds wrapped around one of the coldest winters that we've ever had here in the South. NOAA came out a few weeks ago and has forecasted one of the strongest El Ninos that we have ever had here, that ever has been recorded. There may have been one or two others as far as records being kept that we have had a strong El Nino as this, but we are forecasting a 90% chance of having a El Nino. Well, what does that mean? What that means is the waters along the equator going out over the Pacific Ocean are a few degrees warmer than they have been in the past. And that triggers a cycle where in the north they can expect the jet stream to bring warmer temperatures over the winter and cooler winters over the south. Does that mean that we need to be expecting the blizzard of all blizzards? No, it doesn't. But it does mean that we could possibly see about 2 degrees cooler in our winter, and that brings also a chance of snow. Now, why am I bringing that to you here in August whenever it's 120 degrees? Because winter generally sneaks up on me, and by the time it's here, I haven't really gotten my head wrapped around and going outside and protecting my plants properly. And I know others coming from the last fig event that they left their plants outside during the winter and they lost some of their plants. So I want to bring a little sense of warning that, guys, go ahead and think about what you're going to do to protect your cold sensitive plants if you live in the South. It's been dry, dry, dry. We haven't had any good rain since about May, and it's August. Almost 3 weeks ago, we got 1 inch. And usually we get an inch every week or so, maybe 2 weeks, but at the longest spell that we go without rain. And look at this cherry cordial tree right here. It's looking really bad. I had talked about putting irrigation on my trees in a last video, and I'm definitely going to do that for next year. I am not going to let these trees suffer as much as they have suffered out here in this heat. And if you just look across my orchard right now, I have been bringing water to these and just give them a coffee can full of water every day or two, just kind of limp them along. We have rain in the forecast. Today we are forecasted for 1/10 of an inch. And tomorrow we are forecasted for 1/2 of an inch. I'm really hoping that we get that rain. Back during the winter, I protected my fig trees that I just planted in ground from that late freeze that we had with mulch. I had a round bale of hay that's off of this pasture that our fig orchard is in, which our fig orchard's right back there against that back fence. Well, 1 round bale of hay I put over every one of our fig trees that are in ground. I've got the other bale here. I'm all out of bales after that. I'm going to have to find more. But this coming winter, I'm going to have to protect my fig trees with hay. If you live in the South and you have fig trees in the ground, one of the best things you can do is completely cover up and protect that root ball from freezing. So even if you can't protect the limbs and stuff that have grown over the summer from a hard killing freeze, at least protect that root ball. There are some people in northern Georgia that had their fig trees in buckets and they had reports of a 50% loss. So if you let that root ball freeze, there's a greater chance that you're going to lose that tree You got to protect that root ball. Some of my bigger trees that I have in the front orchard, whenever I was expecting a hard freeze this winter, I went through with some dirt and I covered up the top crown of that root ball. And I think that helped get them through. Since I've got you here, I figured I'd go ahead and give you a little update of what we got going on around here. We're in the back corner of the new 1.5 acre property that we had just bought. This was a fence row that was all grown up in trees and bushes and weeds and everything. My cousin Lucas brought his excavator over here. He dug out all the trees that were in that fence row and they were laid over on the ground. Well, over the weekend, I climbed in the cab and I figured I would try my hand at working an excavator. And I got all the debris piled up in a nice tight pile over here. And I was pretty excited about getting all that stuff stacked up. We're gonna leave it there for a good, probably 6 weeks before we're able to burn it. But with 120-degree heat, that should be drying out pretty quick and get ready for a burn. Over here, our plans are a barn that is 70 feet across and 40 feet deep. And that's gonna help with our nursery that we're trying to establish, putting everything in that barn and utilizing that barn to grow our nursery is one of the many things that we can do with it. So I figured I would show you what's going on in the front orchard out by the highway and beside the house. I got my shell apple here that I talked so much about and love so much. It seems to be doing all right in this heat. I've never seen this thing go dormant in the dead of summer or the dead of winter. It very seldom loses its leaves. It just keeps trucking along. My peach tree here, on the other hand, is starting to show some signs of some wilt. We're past the heat of the day now. Everything should be reviving and coming back from what little bit of moisture is in the ground. The Chicago Hardy is the only tree in my front fig orchard that I didn't lose all the way back to the ground. It maintained the 17-degree cold temperatures that we had over a period of 4 days. It warmed up through the day, but it would drop back at night down to 17 degrees. This is really what I'm trying to say is we had 4 nights where it got down to 17 degrees periodically. And one of those days it never got above freezing. I did suffer a little bit of damage to the wood in here. Like you notice that some of this is dead, but overall I didn't lose very much. Some of the bark suffered damage right here, and so I'm going to have to come up in here over the winter and cut all this out. I wasn't sure what kind of damage I would have until later in the year. Well, it's later in the year and I can see what kind of damage this tree had. It looks like the face, the north east face of this, from where the cold wind was hitting, suffered the damage here. But I got good growth that came back and grew really strong. So now that we are in the heat of the summer and we're about 6 to 7 weeks before our first frost, our trees are preparing to start to go dormant. And when you see this fresh green wood right here, how tender that is, that definitely is not going to definitely not going to survive a freeze or a frost. But you see where the wood starts to turn brown here and is brown a little further down. That's called lignification. If you can get this wood past the lignification, then it should go into the dormant season just fine. I shouldn't lose any of this wood because in about 6 to 7 weeks, whenever our first frost hits, this should be all the way brown, hardened, and ready for winter. But I'm still taking a chance of losing this nice tender green shoot here. So in summary, yeah, we're looking for an El Nino season. It's going to bring us some cooler temperatures. If you are in the deep south, expect heavy frost, 2 degrees normal, 2 degrees cooler than normal. We may even get some snow here in South Alabama where I live. Protect your trees accordingly to wherever you live. If you live down in Florida, I'm sure that the freeze really isn't going to affect you to the point that we're talking about here in Zone 8, where we do get down to freezing temperatures for a day or two and risk losing everything that we worked so hard for over the summer. Go ahead and get your mind wrapped around what you're going to do, get your game plan together, however you're going to protect your trees. If you have everything in pots, go ahead and start getting in your mind what you're going to do to protect those pots. Some people move them into a garage, a basement, stuff like that, which down here we don't have basements because our water level is so high. But people will move their trees into a garage to protect them through that cold period. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it informational. Hit the like button, hit the share button if you really enjoyed it. Remember, keep growing, keep building, and always keep adventuring. Together, we're Foams and Famous, and we'll see you next time.